What's happening, Municipals? This is your boy Big C and Trackman Golfer of the Year, Jack Lopez.
Let's go.
What's happening, buddy?
Nothing much. Speaking of Trackman Golfer of the Year, I broke par twice on Trackman.
Don't tell Hussey and Ashton. They're literally just going to roast you and be like, until I see it on course, I don't give a shit if you've broken par.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, oh, it's pretty cool. I did it at Marco Simone, and then I did it at Olympic Lake. Like that one was pretty tough. It was like 1 under and like 2 under at Marco Simone. Yeah, we just had like some downtime and we played it from the tips. Like it looks like it's going to be a fun Ryder Cup.
Yeah, we play, so, Trackman does the tournaments and stuff like that. So they have a 2-ball going, or a best ball going right now. And so me and my coworker Matt played it. And yeah, that course is fun, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty wide open. There's going to be some cool holes like 17. You have to hit short of the creek. It goes to like 240, 250 from where they're going to play.
Yeah.
Or because it's an elevated tee box, they're going to have to hit it over that little creek. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on some of these holes because it's a good match play course. Like, you could win and lose some holes pretty easily out there.
Yeah, there's some pretty sick holes. I think No Laying Up's been talking a lot about like the elevation on it, and even from Trackman, you can see how like it's gonna be a tough like uphill downhill type of course, but it's gonna be fun to watch.
Those caddies are gonna be hurting.
Yeah, their dogs are gonna be barking for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
But this week, we got Jack on because, as most people know with this podcast, me and Jack both work for Club Champion. This is not a sponsored episode by Club Champion. Other than our salaries we are paid and the love for equipment and the game, that's about it. It's not a paid sponsor by Club Champion.
Nick,
but we won. Yeah, Nick, you've been on the pod, Nick. Give us a ring. We keep talking clubs if you wanna give us a little bit of cash for it. But we kind of wanted to talk about fitting. We've had an episode in the past a little bit about club fitting and things like that, but. And if you haven't checked out the one I did with the president of Club Champion, go back and look for the episode with Nick. It was a really cool episode. But what we're going to kind of talk about is kind of catching up with what's going on at Club Champion, things like that. Again, not sponsored. We're going to get into some other topics all about fitting and, what we love about equipment and kind of give you guys some info of when the best time is and things like that. So It's going to be a fun, formative episode. And it's going to be interesting because, the thing is with club fitters, we are trained a certain way at Club Champion on how to fit, but you still create your own niche on how you fit. You follow a guideline, but you create, what way works best for you and your customers within your demographic of people that walk in the door. Mm-hmm. So it'll be fun to kind of see how Jack kind of talks to his customers and how he goes about things because he's in the Bay Area and there's a lot more money there. Different type of demographic of people than I deal with, where I get guys coming out of the woods of Oregon driving 3 hours across the state because we're legitimately the only place you can get fit in Oregon. So it's a different demographic. We're kind of all over the place with the guys that come into our Portland store where, you get that as well with people with budgets in the Bay, but, a good majority of guys have a little bit more cash to spend. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how we both go about it. But we kind of want to check up on the year at Club Champion. So Jack, kind of kick us off here.
Yeah. I think one of the other interesting parts of the pod is going to be also like 2 different perspectives as far as experience. Like you've been in the industry for I think going on like what, 5 years now, almost.
Almost 6.
Oh, almost
Yep.
6, right? Yeah. So you started at Golf Mart. Now you're at like a fully custom club fitting studio, and this is like I'm green as hell. Like this is going on my like, I guess, 8th or 9th month at Club Champion. But for me, I feel like I'm in a good spot. Like it's a really busy store. Like even when it looks like on like a Monday, it looks like the calendar is empty. By Monday afternoon, it just like fills up. It's pretty crazy because like usually you can see, I mean, at least in the summer, like you could see everything is like pretty booked up. But now that it's slowing down, like I thought it was just going to be like crawling, right? Like doing nothing, like hitting balls all the time. But like I said, like by Monday afternoon, if Monday morning is slow, Monday afternoon, it's like super booked throughout the rest of the week. And it's like, oh shit, like now I got to actually plan like my builds and all of that. So, I mean, I think first thing is just getting into Club Champion. Like it's been super fun. Just learning a lot about the industry and learning about golf through the eyes of equipment. And I think one of the things that I really like about it is a lot of it is building relationships with people. It's not just like, oh, like, hey, let me sell you golf clubs. Like, if you don't build a good relationship with people, like, they're not going to trust the information that you're giving them. So I think it's like building those relationships has been super fun. And the other part that I really like about it is the problem solving part. Like, everyone's got different problems with their golf games, right?
Everybody's swing is a snowflake.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, I've seen everyone from like a 90-year-old dude who swings it like 90 miles per hour still to like, you know, juniors. And then you got the like early 20-year-old guys who are like swinging at 120 miles per hour with their driver. And everyone's got a different issue. So it's really cool to just be able to like provide people solutions and like make the game easier and more fun for them. I think that's kind of what I've enjoyed the most throughout the last, you know, however many months that I've been at Club Champion. And at least at San Carlos, dude, it's like we've got like a really good team. Like everyone's personality meshes well with each other. Like there's not like, from what I've heard, like other places have like problem childs, you know, so everyone gets along. Like we all help each other out. We help out with fits. We help out with all the in-store stuff that we need to do. And yeah, like it's all about like providing a really good experience to customers. So it's been super fun and, you know, super happy at where I'm at right now and just like eager to learn more and like try to help more people like get better at playing golf. So how about you, man? How's the year been at Club Champion?
Yeah, I mean, we've been super busy up to about the month of September. So, you know, Portland is a little bit more seasonal. So coming kind of into the fall and winter, you start getting a lot of people. A lot of the older group crowd are snowbirds, and so they're starting to go down to Southern California and Arizona and Florida to their second homes. So like a lot of our big spenders are those guys. So they usually come in right when new equipment, you know, releases in February, March, and you know, that's why our busy season is right around the Masters all the way through August. You know, but we're actually staying busier than we normally do when it comes to like this time of year. And this is one thing, if anybody is thinking about getting fit, like, you know, sometimes the fit fee is a hang up because it is pretty hefty of a fee. But what Club Champion has been doing is we've literally ran a promo all year where if you buy a club, you get a full bag for $100, or if we just do one section of your bag, it's $50. And then we got putter month running, so you know you can get in for a putter fit, and if you buy the putter, you get the fit for free. So you know, always keep an eye out for any of our promos because it will allow you an entry level into a custom fit without spending a lot of upfront cost. So keep an eye out on all of that. But the season has been, the year's been good for us. I don't think the industry has seen a downtick as much as some other industries that boomed in the COVID era. Golf is still popping. It's still hard to get tee times. There's a lot of people that are still entering the golf, spectrum, where I get guys that are like, I've been playing for a year and I want to, I'm trying to get better. I'm getting lessons and now it's time to get fit. And so, it's really nice to see the industry flourishing because I've been playing since I was 9. I know you started playing a little bit later in your life. And so I've seen the ups and downs of the golf industry. Like I remember 03, 04, you could buy a driver for $350, $400 and they would give you a 3-wood for free. And that was all the manufacturers. Like that's how down golf was. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I bought a Cleveland Highbore driver in like 03 for $400 and got a Cleveland Highbore 3-wood. Like it just,
wow.
It's crazy how the industry has changed. In a big way that it's changed is the way people are able to get fit as well. When I was a kid growing up, TrackMan, all of these launch monitors didn't exist. You just had this old guy that's been doing it for 25 years standing behind you going, yep, that's dead online. Yep, that's dead online. And there wasn't any information to kind of teach you. Yeah. And so, it's really changed. And there's been, people that are, really into social media or, just the world now revolves around data, electronics, and being able to have information at the tip of your fingers, where I think that's where the golf industry has really, driven to be at a different level now, with being able to prove to somebody that we are getting him in a better setup. I think that has completely changed the game on how you can, show somebody that it's an improvement or that, hey, you should just keep your irons because they're doing the same thing. Yeah. And it's not worth it for you to go out and spend $2,000 on a new set. Yeah. So, one thing I think kind of leading from that is the best season to get fit. Yeah. And I think we both agree on this. The fall is the best season, absolutely, no questions, to get fit. What is your reason you would say that the fall is the best time?
Well, I think for me, taking it from just like this, like all kind of, across the U.S., golf season's winding down. So everyone's played through the summer, right? Like everyone's kind of done with, chasing stretches, like their late summer runs and everything. And football season's out and college football season's like in full tilt. So now that you've played all of your golf through the summer, like you've probably done a couple of golf trips, like it's time to start planning for the upcoming season. I mean, here in the Bay Area, it's a little bit different because golf season is pretty much year round. Like I think the last 2 years, I maybe like the longest break I took from golf during like fall, winter was maybe 2 weeks. Like there was always golf to be played. But like I think it's like going into like setting goals for the next year. That's why I think it's one of the best times to get fit. And from what I've heard, some of the best times to get fit is because, you have to prep for the next year, whether you're someone who, you're prepping for a golf trip in the summer or something like that. Like you want to get the equipment dialed in now so that you're going to, whether it's you've got an indoor simulator or you're a range rat and you go to a range during the winter, like this is the time to really dial it in before and that way you get ahead of your friends and your peers once you start playing again for the summer or for the spring and then going into summer. So I think it's more of a timing and kind of like planning thing for me more than anything from what I can see. Cause I've pretty much used to do the same thing. Like I would play with all my clubs through the season. And then it kind of fell in line with like Titleist and Callaway usually releasing drivers during around this time and during January, where I would already know like, oh, okay, like I maybe need a new driver or a new 3-wood. And like this was a time for me to kind of, fuck around with equipment because I'm an equipment hoe. And then, and just getting ready for the summer. So I'm not really changing much during that time. What about you, man?
Yeah, so it's pretty similar for us. It's a little bit more seasonal because being in Pacific Northwest, everybody knows it gets really wet. We get a little bit of snow through the winter, so a lot of our customers, shut it down through the winter time and don't open it back up until March, end of February, or a lot of customers are snowbirds and will go down south for the winter, so they're not actually in town. But to get fit, I mean, you've been playing all year or all golf season, and your swing is not going to get any better than it will be right now between August and September coming into October. So it's the best time because your swing is as dialed as it's going to be. So if you come in right when a lot of the new woods and hybrids and things get, come out at the beginning of March, coming into April, you're not going to be in good shape. You might have hit the range 5 or 6 times over the winter. You might have been able to sneak a few rounds in if you do what we did and go to Vegas to play some golf in the winter, and then still have 48-degree frozen greens on the places you're playing, because we caught Vegas in the coldest fucking time in the world. But, unless you're doing those type of things, your swing is going to fall off. So if you're coming in, you're not going to get the best fit possible coming in with a rusty game. So, especially in the Pacific Northwest, this is the time to kind of get fit. And so I wish more customers would understand that, because we push that so much as a company, but also as a fitter, knowing, because we are golfers ourselves, where our ability is at its highest. And, right now I'm playing my best golf I have played all year within the last 2 or 3 weeks, almost a month. So
dude, we forgot. Shout out Big Chris for breaking par this year. That's fucking awesome, dude. It was a 69.
It's been about 69, sexy 69. It's been about 13 years since I've broken par. So it's been a minute, and it wasn't at the most challenging course. It was at this course called Cross Creek in Dallas, which is just west of Salem where I live. And so, 6,600 yards, wide open course, but hey, you still got to hit the shots.
Yeah.
So I'm just stoked that I pulled that off, and had witnesses of my dad and my brother and our boy Bean out there seeing me throwing darts all day.
Was that your birthday weekend round too, or was that? Yeah,
it was.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And I know you guys are going to talk about it on another pod, right?
Yep. We'll talk about it on another pod that'll be out before the end of the year, because we are running out of episodes. Everybody that listens to the pod knows we take a break between Thanksgiving and Christmas to focus on family. So, we'll sneak it in, but it's getting tight with the amount of episodes we have left.
Yeah, but shout out, congratulations to you. We'll definitely mention some of the bag setup later, but interested to hear, was there a club that you got this year that kind of helped you break par or something like that? That'd be cool to talk about.
Yeah, we're gonna throw it in this episode, and we'll kind of go through that. But us being fitters, we're trained to kind of fit a certain way, but we all kind of have our ways of going about it, or have, I wouldn't say biases, because we try to be, as brand agnostic as 100% possible. But, we all kind of have our our go-tos or our favorite things. So I wanted to kind of ask you, what is your favorite fit to do? You know, there's a bunch of different categories that you guys can pick if you want to come in and get fit at Club Champion through me or Jack. If you're in the Bay Area, Jack's at San Carlos. You can find him on the Club Champion website and book straight through there and pick Jack as your fitter. I am in Tigard, Oregon, so you can do the same thing through the Club Champion website. But if someone books a fit, which one do you get excited about?
I think early in the year, I was like very excited about doing full bags. But then I think like my first like 3 or 4 full bags went over time, and I was just like, man, this is like kind of exhausting. So it's kind of changed throughout the year for me. I would say probably 2 different ones for me. Driver and putter are kind of 2 that I'm like really liking right now. I've gotten people some like crazy results with putters. I had these 2 ladies from Thailand that came in, like, you know, America is basically like their vacation home. Like they have a vacation home in Redwood Shores. So like they really like all they do is come here and like be tourists and play golf. Like they play golf in I think like 4 different states this summer. So like super cool people, like really fun to hang around with. And they're all like, hey, like we're kind of like playing our best golf right now, but you know, like kind of normal problems that they were having was just like, you know, like not having enough height and stuff like that. And both of them did full bag with putter. So I did putter fittings for both of them. And like, it was just crazy the amount of change that the putting had on them. So far, they've only had like 3 rounds, I think, with the putters. I think they're leaving this week, but they've had 3 rounds with their putters. And all 3 rounds, like they had called me afterwards and they would be like, oh my God, like that was the best like putting round of my life ever. Like one of them had 26 putts on 1 round at Cinnabar. And like, she's like a stick, dude. She's like, I think she's like a 2 or 3 handicap, but she's like crazy good. And she was like, oh, it's like, that was absolutely my best round of putting. And then her friend was also like the same thing. Like they played Moffett like 2 weeks later and she had her best round putting. And I think she said that was the first time she like broke 29 putts or something like that. Like, so I think putting's been pretty crazy good lately, which I've really enjoyed, like explaining to people how they can get better through a putter fit. Cause it's one of those that like most people don't think they need to get fit for a putter. Like they just go to Golf Mart or PGA Superstore and like roll some putts type of deal. But there's a lot of science into it. And I think that's probably one of my favorite ones. And I think driver for sure driver's always fun when you can like unlock someone's potential. Like I think a lot of people, they get super tentative, and I would say most like mid handicappers, you know, people in like the 15s, 16s trying to get down to like 10 or single digits, like off the tee is usually their issue. So it's fun to like put a club in someone's hand and like free them up to just like hit bombs or just stripe it down a fairway. So I think those 2 for me have been kind of my favorite fits to do, at least over the last couple months. Like I said earlier on, I was like really into full bags, just getting that shit done in like 4 hours, but whatever. But right now, just really enjoying drivers and putter. What about you, man?
So that's the exact answer I would say. So the reason I say that, and full bags are fun, but most people can't do a full bag in one sitting. Like it's like 280 to 300 swings most of the time for a full bag. So like most of the time we're breaking it up anyways and focusing on certain sections and having them come in a second time. But you know, we do that a lot. One, because we have a little bit more of an open schedule, so we're able to spend a little bit more time. You know, when you're in the Bay Area, you guys get full much faster than we do, so it's hard to be able to do that. But
by the way, we only have 2 bays in my store, so that's like one of the reasons. Crazy. Yeah, it's like top 5 busiest store in the nation, and we only have 2 bays.
Yeah, Nick needs to get that taken care of. You guys at least need to have one more bay or find a bigger place. But the reason I like driver and putter is because 2 ways you're going to lose strokes or cut strokes out of your rounds the fastest. Most of the time, people are buying drivers just like they do putters right off the rack. They're going into their big box store, whatever's local, or a golf shop. They might have a fitting at their actual club where, Titleist or Callaway comes out with a bag of clubs and you get to hit a couple, and, They do what they can, but they're limited to the offerings that they have through the manufacturers that they work with. Or if you're going into a big box, they're buying the most popular shaft head combos to put on their racks so that it's easy to sell. People want to see certain shafts because that's what they see the PGA pros playing. Well, if I handed you Rory McIlroy's fucking driver, 95% of people would never be able to hit a fucking ball with it. It's fit to him. It's meant to be his driver. So, one of my biggest pet peeves, because me and yourself are always going out and trying new equipment or have different things in the bag. My biggest pet peeve is when someone goes, "Hey, can I hit your driver?" And it's like, you can, but it's not fucking fit for you. Yeah. Like, you're not going to probably hit it great. Like, not a lot of people are playing 40-gram extra stiff driver shafts. Like, probably not going to work well for you. But, I hate that. But the reason I love drivers is because if you can get somebody to hit more fairways and gain a little bit of yardage by also tightening up their dispersion, most amateur golfers are probably going to hit 40 to 50% of fairways. If you can get them to hit, 50 to 70% of fairways, like, even if you lose a tad bit of distance, you're going to score more often because you're putting the ball in play and in the right position for you to be able to attack the pins and score. So, it's all about putting yourself in the right positions. And I think driver is going to be the biggest benefit for most, because we hit those big hitters that can hit it, carry it 280 to 320. Like, we get them frequently, but the majority of our customer base are going to be the people that hit it 220 to 235 carry and might roll it out to 250 to 265. And, I can relate because that's very similar to my numbers. But a lot of those guys picking things off the rack, they're getting too much spin, too low height, too much height, or it's just the wrong setup completely, and it's getting them to create poor consistency and poor, positioning because they're trying to make something work that isn't ever going to work for them. So showing them when they hit their driver, and then we go ahead and pick, go through the shafts first, then find the head that matches it. It's enlightening to customers. Like, it's like a bulb just like pops in their head and they're just like, I had no clue shafts meant this much. Yeah. That's my biggest thing I get from anybody. They're like, I had no clue. And then you look at it and you go, that's why a good shaft is $300 to $500. Like, the shaft is 70% of the golf club. Yeah. And, you can plug it and play in a few heads and you're going to find similar numbers once you find that shaft. But, consistency is going to create, much better games, and you're going to shoot a lot lower if you're not in the trees and you're trying to punch out and deal with, trying to recover from those shit shots that, you might not have swung horribly bad, but the driver is incorrect. It's too stiff in the tip, or there's too much weight in the handle. There's a million things that can cause these things, and no bagging on manufacturers, but they don't really give a fuck about swing weight. They really, like, all they want to do is make sure that a head doesn't come off.
Yeah,
That's their
exactly.
whole agenda, trying to get something out the door. So getting the right swing weights, getting the right lengths, doing all of these things, making sure that your adapter is in the right place and you understand if you change or adjust it, what the hell it's going to actually do. Because, like, most people don't know, if you add or subtract loft, it's also opening or closing the face. And so you might need more loft, but some drivers, if you add more loft, can close the face down. And then you're going to be like, why the hell am I hitting it left?
Yeah. Why am I drawing it again?
Why am I drawing it? I want to hit a fade with my driver. And you're like, well, then you need to go up in loft and then maybe lower it a little bit to keep that face open. So, like, people don't understand this shit. Everybody also thinks they need to be an 8 or 9 degree driver. And, like, some of the biggest hitters I know are in 10.5 degree drivers. Like, it's all about optimal numbers. And that's why I love fitting people in that, because it shows people exactly why this is working. And then with putters, like you said, everybody walks into a place, hits a couple putts. That's good. Buys it. Year down the road, when they fucking hate that putter, they do it again.
Yeah.
Where, our putter fitting is done with this awesome thing called Sam Putt Lab, which is going to break down the 3 most important things that make a putter work for you. And that is toe hang, lie, and loft. And most people don't even know what toe hang is. And that's why there's so many hosels made, and that's the little part that attaches your shaft to the head, if you don't know what a hosel is. Those hosels are what create the toe hang for a putter. And then also dependent what shape of putter it is. So, those are all the data points that Sam kicks out. And once you get somebody into that proper putter, it's a game changer. Yeah. I mean, that's probably the one. There's probably a lot more people that have been fit for drivers, and maybe not to our extent, but they've gone through some sort of a fitting, where outside of us, I've worked in big box. There isn't anybody out there that does putter fittings like we do, other than if you go to the manufacturer's, headquarters down in Southern California, where most of them are at, and go through their overly expensive putter fitting down there. But then you're pigeonholed into just one brand, where we can fit you in everything. And then with options of shafts and changing out weights and all that stuff, we can dial you into a putter that should be a lifetime purchase.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like putter fittings. It's like, once you figure out like what actually works for you, that's one of the ones like that aren't going to change for a while. Cause it's like, I've maybe, like, I would say like 1 out of 20 people are tinkerers that have like truly just like almost mental cases with putting, where they'll have like so many different putters. But, to play good golf, you have to know what type of putter works for your stroke. Cause that stroke, unless you really get a lesson to work to change your putting style, that shouldn't change. Like, that's one of those, like, you can change your swing easier than you change your natural putting stroke. So I think like that's why putting is like one of the most important things to get fit for. And also it's one of the, I think that's why it's one of the best clubs to start fitting in your bag. Because if you can't get the ball in the hole, then the game's going to be hard for you, right? I think, yeah, putting for me is probably that, as far as like, if we were to tell someone who's like a new golfer or someone who like took a break from the game, asked us like, hey, like, what's the best thing to get fit for right now? Like, my first answer is usually putter. And then for me, like, I asked them, hey, like, what have you been working on as you're getting back into the game? Like, the next most important club to me is kind of the same thing, driver. But on after putter, what I like to ask people is like, can you hit driver? Because there's a lot of people who like go into a driver fit and they literally cannot hit a driver. So I think it's like, as far as like finding out what the best club to get fit first after putter, it's dependent on the skill level of that player and like what they're doing and what they're working at. I usually tell them like, look, if we can't hit driver, don't play with driver for right now. Like, go borrow a driver from a driving range and learn, like, take a lesson and like actually learn how to hit driver, because I can put something in your hands that you might hit okay right now, but once you actually get an actual driver swing that you've practiced, that's probably going to drastically change. So I usually tell them putter, and then if they can hit their irons, I'll tell them irons are the second kind of like most important thing to start fitting in their bag. What about you, dude?
Yeah, I mean, always putter is the most important thing, especially because, again, nobody goes through putter fittings. They just pick something off the rack, or they win it in a tournament, or it was a hand-me-down. It's just, and that's the one thing I hate about Scotty Cameron sometimes, is because people see it on TV, they see how popular it is, they see so many people use them, and they're like, it's got to be the best putter in the world, and so people just go buy one off the rack. Scotty Camerons are great putters. Don't get me wrong, I'm not bagging on Scotties. I've had 40 some, if not more, Scotties that have come through my life, and I love Scotty Cameron, but when that's the issue with the PGA Tour, is when people see things on tour, we all know the minute that Wyndham Clark and fucking Ricky won with the goddamn jailbird, we as fitters get a million phone calls and emails asking us if we've got the jailbird, we've got the Ricky putter. Just because Ricky Fowler uses it and it's transformed his putting game does not mean that putter is going to work for you. And the other one, Lab right now is the hottest putter, I would say, in the industry, because there's so many guys on the Champions Tour, the PGA, the LPGA, in college, like insane amount of people that have switched to the Lab. And I think there's an absolute reason for that. I think it's an incredible tool that never existed in the putter realm. Mm-hmm. It's something that it's the first time I've seen a new engineered product that actually makes a difference, where, everybody is a copycat in the golf industry.
Oh, yeah.
One person puts out one model, every person puts out a similar model. It cycles like that. Like, Scotty thinks he's a genius with his blades. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, Kirsten with Ping a long time ago made the answer, and that is where everybody else got their shape for their blades. So it's not a re-engineering, guys. Scotty isn't the only one that makes a good blade. It's just like his ability to market gets people there. But that's where I would say I would start. And then the other way I kind of go about it, especially if you're a newer golfer or you're trying to improve quickly, we have a PGA partner program. And so we as fitters can actually go out and sign up PGA partners or people that we respect. And we can, utilize them, where a new golfer comes into me and they're really dedicated to get better. I've got my guy Andy Morris that I work with heavily. He probably works with 25 to 30 of my customers. And so if I get a customer that comes in for a fitting and just can't make contact with the ball, or a new golfer that just walks in and wants to chat with me about fitting, most of the time what I'm going to do is I'm going to send them to Andy. Andy's going to work with them. He's going to get them to be able to make contact. He's going to be able to have them see what a positive ball flight looks like. And then when Andy feels they're ready, he's going to send them back to me. And he's going to send me an email, and he's going to tell me, hey, their driver is okay for now. Their wedges are fine for now. I think what they need to start with or focus on is going to be irons, or whatever club, he is seeing that is probably their biggest, hang up to get their handicap lower, to play better golf, that's where we're going to start. So I think one thing, before you go get fit, find a good PGA Pro in your area and make sure your swing is dialed, because you don't want to spend all this money on equipment. And it doesn't even have to be dialed. It just has to be to a point where we can make good contact on the ball to see the difference in clubs. So, like, if you don't know a good PGA Pro, contact your local club champion, because every store has some sort of connection with a good PGA Pro and can send you in the right direction. Like, if you're in the Bay and you call and ask Jack, he'll probably send you to the Golf Spot, where our boy Kevin Pauly and a lot of great fitters work at the Golf Spot. Jack, you might have someone else in your area that you prefer over that as well, that you might send them to, or reach out to the guys in the store if you don't, and ask them who they feel is the best in the area to go to. The Bay Area is big, so you might not want to send them all the way over to the East Bay from San Carlos to go to the Golf Spot, but you guys might have somebody like at Crystal Springs or something that might be a really good fit for somebody.
Yeah, we've got a couple of different PGA partners. I think all throughout, like San Jose, it's weird. We get customers all over from literally Petaluma, as far north as Actually, I take that back. We have this one guy from Humboldt, literally drives down from Humboldt to our store to get fit, and he's done it 3 times this year. For different parts.
There's nowhere else though. Yeah. I mean, between Humboldt and you guys, that's it. There really isn't anything else unless you go to your big box store, which
days.
I come from the big swap. Yeah, and I come from the big box world. If you're a high handicap and you have a budget, that's your place to go. But if you're trying to be better at golf and get things dialed in, you need to come to a place like Club Champion or a custom fitter near you.
Before we get to our last couple other kind of topics we wanted to talk about, what's kind of the craziest gain that you've seen this year? It could be putter, it could be driver. What's one of the craziest things that you've seen?
So this is one of my favorites. So I had a customer come in. Last time he was fit, he was in his 50s. He was 72. So he was 51, 52 last time he got fit. And he came in and he was playing old Titleist blades with, S400 dynamic gold stiff shafts, which for most guys in their 70s, that's going to be a very heavy setup. It's going to be hard to get, even if you hit perfect contact, which this guy did. His irons, he brought them in. He had a dimple in the middle of his club that was concaved. It literally was carving in the iron. Incredible ball striker. And he was just losing distance. Mm-hmm. And the first thing he says to me, he goes, "Don't put me in any of that cavity back bullshit. I only hit blades and I'll never change." And when guys tell me that, usually I'm not too keen on somebody telling me how to do my job. It's I'll usually fight them back. But when I saw the strike pattern and wear pattern on his irons, I was like, yes, sir. We will focus on blades, and we're going to find you the right shaft. So I asked the guy what clubs he wanted to try first, because usually we work through shafts. So something that's familiar with a customer, I always try to ask them what head they want to start with, or what realm of heads they want to start with. And I'll use that as kind of the starting point, unless they're batshit crazy and I see them warm up and they can't barely hit a club and they want to start with a blade. I'm not going to do that. But so this guy goes, I really, I want to get out of Titleist. I really love the way Mizuno's look. So I was like, cool. So we take the 221. I had him hit his clubs, his 6-iron, and dead down the middle. Dispersion was insane. His club path was positive 2, and his face to path was negative 1. Like, it was beautiful. The guy could stripe the ball, but he was hitting it really short. Mm-hmm. For his club head speed, he was spinning a little too much. So, he probably had mid 70s, mid to high 70s club head speed, which for a guy 72, that's still moving the club.
Yeah.
And so we started with graphite. Yeah. So he was probably hitting his 6-iron about 145, 148 at his speed. So we started playing with some lighter weight graphite. He couldn't really control the head because he's been used to such heavy shafts for so long. We then started dabbling in some lighter flex shafts, so kind of in the lighter, regular, but also, kind of in some of the A-Flex stuff. And we went up in weight as close as we could to kind of what S400s are. So we were hitting, 105, 110, shaft weights, all in kind of regular flex, or if we had them that heavy, in kind of a little bit lighter flex. And so we ended up fitting him into 110 gram regular recoils, UST recoil shafts, and the head that worked best for him was the Tiger Woods blade from TaylorMade. When he walked out, he was hitting these 168 yards with 86 club head speed.
That's fucking sick.
Because I cut 25, grams out of his shaft. He got a little bit more flex in him so that he was launching them a little bit higher, but not, adding a whole lot of spin to him. And the guy, to this day, is still blown away at how good the clubs feel and look.
Holy shit.
So that was the best gains I've had, and actually one of the funnest fits I've ever had as a fitter, because usually when someone tries to dictate to me how a fit goes, it's not going to go well. Because every time I try to prove to them something is better, they're always going to revert back to what they want. And that's not how custom fitting works. Yeah,
that's pretty crazy.
What about you?
I recently had this dude. He comes in. He wants to do a full bag. So we go through the full bag. We get to driver, and his irons, he was hitting them fine. He picked them up 10 more yards of carry and another 3 or 4 degrees of stopping power on it. So he was pretty happy about the irons. But we get to the driver, and dude just had zero swing speed for some reason. And he's mid 30s, almost 40s. He was swinging his driver 72 miles per hour. And I was just bro, you were literally swinging your irons faster than your driver. What's going on? And so I get him to loosen up a little bit, do a couple of things with him as far as drills and just stuff that I do to kind of try to hype up my customers, or get them to just be more free with their swing. I was just hey, don't worry about contact. Literally, I just want to know how fast you can swing this club. So he does that for about 5-10 minutes, and he gets it up to 82 miles per hour, right? So I'm all right, cool. We can work with that. Just keep swinging that way, and contact will happen. And basically, what he was telling me, he was yeah, I got a 2-way miss. I'm scared shitless of fucking hitting my driver. And he plays a lot at Peacock Gap, so over there pretty narrow at times, and you can't really fucking miss anywhere because there's either OB, water, or you're in the trees. So get through it, find the right shaft, and then I think it was we found the right shaft, and I got him into kind of a somewhat counterbalance shaft. I got him into the Tensei 1K orange, and he took 2 shots with it, and they were kind of right around that 80 mile per hour swing speed. And he looks back, he's wow, this feels really good. and then he takes a couple of practice swings, and his next shot was 100 miles per hour. Like, it was a little bit of a block, but it was 100 miles per hour swing speed. And I looked at him, I was like, dude, like, how do you go from swinging it 72 miles per hour to now swinging it at 100 miles per hour? Like, that makes more sense to me. Because I was telling him, I'm like, you're literally like, you just got to trust it. Like, you got to hit it and like just swing free. And like, I just like, this was literally the last shaft that I had pulled off the wall. And I was like, just swing away and like, just go. Swings it at 100. And then I was like, all right, well, shit, this is the wrong flex. So like, let me get you the right flex. And then like, same shaft, right flex. And let's fucking go at it. And by the time, like, basically his driver start like that 70 mile per hour swing that he had, he was carrying it like 150 or something like that and rolling out to 180. By the time that we were done with it, the driver he ended up with, he was carrying it somewhere around like 230 and rolling out to like 260 almost. And like, I was pretty blown away just by like putting something in his hands that like made him comfortable. He was able to actually just like be free with his game. And that was probably one of my more fun fits too, but just seeing that jump in club speed was pretty insane. I mean, like, it's always fun to see some like college dudes. Like, we had this guy from USC, like, started playing golf over the summer, and like, he was, buying new equipment. So I was just watching the fit happen, and this dude was swinging 121 miles per hour and slicing the ball with 170 miles per hour of ball speed. Like, it's fun seeing shit like that, but then when you actually like help somebody with a problem, like, that's where I kind of like, just like, those are my favorite fits.
Yeah, so with newer golfers, especially younger newer golfers, I see a lot of them, be able to get those kind of, club head speed numbers because they haven't created tendencies yet or have been scared enough while playing to, create the issues in their swing to slow it down or try to correct something. They're just swinging for the fences and trying to hit it as far as you can, which is a positive and a negative thing because, one, you need to know how to control the driver so that you can actually find center of the face and get it to go straight. But two, you don't want to really touch that too much because you don't want them to kind of get in that space like your customer where they create a tendency where it's just a fairway finder because they're so scared of going OB. And especially when you have that kind of club head speed and you get like a 40-yard left to right fucking slice or a hook the opposite way, and it's like, you got to have best of both worlds there. And so those are always fun because, you get kind of guys like yours who have been playing for a while but have created these horrendous, hiccups in their game because they've been scared so often and they've hit so many bad shots that they are scared to free themselves up to swing at it. Or you get those guys that are, like a toddler trying to walk for the first time that are just like trying to figure it out and have no thought process of like what you need to do to control it. They're just swinging as hard as they can. So it's fun on both spectrums.
Yeah.
But,
for sure.
The gains are always there, and it's probably one of the funnest things to see as a fitter to be able to do that. But
well,
what would you say?
Real quick, my guy that was like, he went from 72 to 100 miles per hour. Like, he had been playing with, I think it was that TaylorMade burner driver. It's like Aero burner.
The mini one?
No. It's like Aero something.
Oh, the old white one?
Yeah, like the one with the white crown. And like he said he just bought it off the rack and that's what he's been playing with. And basically, like, that thing's swing weight was so light that there was zero way that he could even swing it past 80 miles per hour and make good contact. So it's like, that told me, I was like, oh, like, just like prime example of just like buying shit off the rack and like not understanding how the equipment is supposed to work is working against someone. Um, anyway, well, the next topic we had was top 3 clubs that we've been seeing in fits this year. Yeah, like let's start with you. Like, what's kind of the number 3? You know, it doesn't have to be a club, but like maybe the brand or something like that. But top 3 clubs that you've been seeing in fits a lot this year or this season.
So we're starting with, we'll work down to the one that's been working the best. Okay. Yeah. So 3, I'll start out in the driver realm. I would say Titleist absolutely has murdered the drivers. And I'm not going to say TSR1 or TSR, the whole line. There's no hang up there. It just depends on what the person specifically needs out of a driver. But I think with the 4 models they put out this year, you can fit 95% of people. If we only had Titleist, they could probably fit 95% of people. There's always going to be, someone that might benefit a little bit from something else. But Titleist is always top 2 to top 3 drivers in every single fit. Yeah. It might be that someone needs a little bit more spin and the Stealth just gets that little bit of extra spin for them. Or if someone needs to, they just get tight, like a few yards tighter dispersion with Callaway, like that will happen. But it's literally nitpicking here and there, and Titleist is always up there. And so I would say Titleist drivers by far probably my 3rd best.
I just want to put it out there. I hope we don't have the same list. I was going to say Titleist woods and hybrids in any like long game fit or any driver fit. Like you said, it's always kind of like top 2 or 3. And it's like malleable to where, like, if I need to do something, like we're talking about, like how the face looks at setup, like switching from a 11 degree down to a 9 and then like turning up the loft or something like that. Like, it's so easy to do that with their SureFit system. But for some reason, they've just been winning a lot of woods for me. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, there's certain times I'll go to Ping and Aerojet for specific reasons. Like, if I need a lighter head, I'll usually go to the Aerojet line. With low spin, if I just need someone like with max forgiveness and kind of low spin, I like the G430. But all across the board, like you said, in about 90-95% of fits, I can always count on Titleist to like actually perform and put out numbers that I'm looking for. And it's like not just ball speed, but like ball speed, launch, like trying to solve certain things for better players, like the TSR3 line, money for better players for me. So what I was going to say, woods and hybrids for me for number 3 would be Titleist. This is something that's showing up right now.
Yeah, and Titleist has not been that in previous years, to be honest. Yeah. Like, really, the changeover for them was about 4 years ago when the TS line came out. And I don't think they were all the way there yet with the TS line. It was a massive improvement from what they had previously in the 900 line or the series of different 900s that they had. But then TSI came out and you were like, wow. I don't know if they're going to be able to improve based off the TSI line. And TSR has definitely hit the precipice of what they're capable of doing. So I've really dug that. But number 2 for me would be the Lab Mez putter. I would say 60% of my putters. Big thing is, I will say, people come in intrigued by them because they are an Oregon-based company. So, a lot of people like to support local, but, guys that don't even know who Lab is, they have been a game changer for a lot of guys that struggle with putters. And I would say people of all abilities probably could see some positivity coming out of lab golf, especially because they're 360-degree balance. There is no toe hang involved. There's different weighting options, different head sizes, different shaft options. It's probably the most versatile putter on the market because you can literally customize it to anybody's ability or what they're looking for, feel wise, look wise. You're not going to get that in a lot of other brands. It's the putter is what it is, and you can maybe change the shaft and grip and the settings of where the putter sits and things like that, but you can go full bore on the lab golf stuff, and it has been drastically beneficial for a lot of those guys like you were talking about earlier that like have bought in 30 putters over a 25-year span, and like they just keep buying stuff because it's just not working out for them. And that's when they become head cases, and it's kind of a point and shoot kind of putter. Like if you line it up and you take your stroke, it's gonna hit that line.
Yeah.
We can't help you with being able to find the line, but that's you. You got to learn how to read greens, but it's going to keep you on that line.
Yeah. If basically like what I've seen with lab, if you can get over how it looks and just focus on like how it performs, like it will suit your eye. But like, I think some people like, we've had people just like not buy labs because they're like, I just can't get over how it looks. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like there's a lot of things you're going to have to get used to. And like looking at it should be probably the last thing. Like, is it making the best putts for you? And is it rolling the putts right for you? Then what does the look matter, right?
Yeah, my response to that every time is when you're taking your friend's money on the golf course because the putter is working better for you, are you going to give a shit the way that the putter looks? Like, I say it exactly like that to my customers. And most of them go, yeah, I guess you're right. Like, and some of those guys as friends have then come into the shop wanting a lab golf because they just got their ass beat by their buddy that got, custom fit into one. So, that's kind of my ploy in how I go about that, because I think it's so stupid, and it happens in irons all the time and the top of drivers where guys are just like, I just can't get used to the way it looks down there after they just had massive gains with it. And you're like, who cares what it looks like, man? Like, it does not matter. Performance is the only thing that matters. Like, and that's when I usually will pull my irons out. Being a 4 handicap, most people think I'm using forged blades or like a really thin top lined, cavity back player's iron. And I'm playing, Srixon ZX5s with the thicker top line, thicker sole, all that kind of stuff. So you got to get over that, So what is your favorite, or the one that you've seen in fits the absolute most this year?
Well, number 2 for me, I was going to say Odyssey putters. Something about Odyssey this year on the Tri Hotline and the Versa line just works for a lot of people. Like when we narrow it down to the right putters, there's rarely any putter fit where I don't pull out an Odyssey.
Well, it helps too because they have the largest selection of heads in their line than any other brand.
That's true, but also like feel wise, like there's people that go from like the milled face and they're just like, oh, I hate inserts, and I've never like I've had some people are like, don't put TaylorMade or don't put Ping in my hands, because a lot of them have kind of that polyurethane insert. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, you didn't tell me not to put Odyssey, so here's a fucking Odyssey. But a lot of what they're doing in that Tri-Hot putter is going really good, and it's working for a lot of people. So that's my number 2. I would say the number 1 for me that I've been seeing a lot in fits this year kind of win a lot of different battles and just show absolutely flat out unbeatable performance is probably LA Golf, like through the bag. Woods all the way down to putters, whatever they're doing, and you know them, like they don't really tell us how their technology works. Like we just know it's the most amount of layers of material that anyone's ever put on shafts. Something like that. But like just their shit flat out performs for everyone. Like there's rarely a time, and the times that I've seen it, that it doesn't perform, it's probably because it's on a newer golfer who can't really hit it well and can't find the sweet spot on the club head. But it's, if I put LA Golf in a fit, like usually it'll have some of the best performance, if not the best performance.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot with irons and hybrids this year. I would say the LA Golfs in those two categories have worked really, really, really well. And I mean, I think the big thing that kind of helps them too is the how, you know, shafts are made. There's going to be a low, medium, and kind of high trajectory that their shafts produce, and you can kind of create that within many different weights and flexes, which I think, you know, that's where the graphite realm, I think in the next 5 years, you're going to see probably an uptick of 50% of golfers playing graphite within their wedges and woods, or their wedges and irons, because what they can create trajectory-wise with lighter or heavier shafts and the materials that they're able to use. You know, LA Golf's materials are the same materials that they're using on Lamborghini and Ferrari engines. So it's like, you know, the carbons and things like that mixed in with the grapholines and Kevlars and all these different materials to create different flex points and, you know, different ways that the shaft is supposed to work, you can't do with a long grain steel. Yeah. Like, long grain steel is what it is. You can make it heavier, lighter, you can step it or make it a rifle shaft, but that's the limits of a steel shaft. So what you can create with graphite is so much more expansive. For me, my best club that I've fit this year is the Apex UW. It literally,
that's a spicy take right there.
I have probably put 50 of them in people's bags this year. I have one in my bag. Both of my coworkers have them in their bags. You know, I just played with our boy Brandon Lehman. He's got one in his bag. You know, it's what I love about it is if you're a woods guy or you're a hybrid guy, you're going to get along with the Apex UW. Because it utilizes wood shafts, so it's basically a 5-wood length, longer than a normal hybrid, but then you're going to get the characteristics that you like off of a high lofted wood or a hybrid. And they're just hot, too. Guys that have issues with that part of their bag, which I would say that area that kind of follows your irons and then comes before your 3-wood, it's a big struggle and hard for people to find that right club in that section. That's what most people are coming in with long game fits going, I love my driver, I love my 3-wood, I can't figure out the gapping between my 4-iron and my 3-wood. Like, I haven't been able to find that club yet. And the Apex has been probably the most beneficial. The only issue with our fitting system is we have 3-wood length shafts and we have hybrid shafts. So what I actually did was I reached out to my local rep and had him bring in a couple pre-built ones. just so people could feel them, see what they're able to do. And then usually what I'll do is have them choke up on a 3-wood shaft, and so that we can get the proper weight and flex, because the 3-wood driver shafts are what go into the apex. That's what's so cool too. They don't use a hybrid shaft, they use a wood shaft, and that will create different trajectories, lighten weights, all of these things that help customers out. So Apex UW has been my go-to golf club, and I haven't had one customer complain, and they've said it's their new favorite club in their bag almost every time.
That's a solid list, man. I'm gonna have to try and see how that performs in some of my fits, because I've got my go-tos, but I try to branch out, like basically every week. Like if I have one driver fit this week, or sorry, if I have multiple fits this week, I'll kind of do a little bit of an assessment at the end of the week, prep for next week, and go, okay, like what were my patterns, and like what kind of things do I need to try to, like just try out from the wall, because it doesn't have to be the same thing all the time, which is what I'm realizing. Like there's so many different combinations that, like, as long as you understand what problem to solve, like you don't have to use the same shit all the time. Like, yes, it's good to have starting points, right? Because like at least in my fits, like I always want to find at least one thing that works, and it's like, cool, we know this one works, like let's fucking go experiment, right? Like that's kind of what I like to do in my fits, is like find something that works and improves on what they're doing right now immediately, and then kind of start narrowing it down, and then start experimenting to like find, like if they need more height, like what's the biggest height gain that we can get out of the shaft, or if they need more ball speed, like what's the biggest ball speed gain that it can make out of the shaft. So yeah, like it's super cool. I'm going to try to fit, try to have a couple people try to get into some UWs this week.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely throw it in there, especially with the long game fits, or when guys come in looking at hybrids or woods, because 7 woods have become very, very popular. And this is something that fills more of a gap where you don't have to have like a 3-5-7 setup. You could literally have a 3-wood and a Apex UW setup, and allow you to fill different other parts of the bag. If most people that have too many clubs in the top end are usually longer hitters, and you want to get them to get more wedges in the bag because they're already hitting it long enough. You don't need to have 3 clubs in, besides your driver in the top end, because you're getting the distance. Where you're going to score more often is if you have the proper wedge set up. So it frees up a part of the bag so that you can add an extra wedge in there, maybe a gap wedge, or, create better, consistency through it. Because a lot of the big hitters will just have pitching wedge, sand wedge, lob wedge, and then they've got this big gap between a pitching wedge and their other wedges. So, that's one thing I think has been beneficial with the Apex UW. It frees up a lot of things because you can do a lot with it. So
yeah. That was a good one. I like that. We should like kind of do that every year, dude. Like I like that top 3 we see in fits a lot every year. That's a fun one.
Yeah, and it's always different for every fitter. And that's why, we're taught to fit a certain way, but you see what works for your customers and your demographic, and then you share it with the other fitters. And that's what's great about you working in a 4-person store. I've got 3 guys in my store, where if something is working for me and I'm getting kind of a head scratcher, kind of situation with that, I'll look over to Connor or Matt and I'll be like, hey Matt, come look at this. They'll look at the data off of what we've been trying, and they'll go, have you tried this? And most of the time I'm like, no, haven't tried that. And then it clicks because they have seen that same occurrence in a fit that they did, that then they can relate that information to me. So, fitters, we know our shit, especially at Club Champion, with the amount of, time and effort we put into training in Chicago, but also on our own through all the modules and things that we have to go through. But we have 50,000 options of heads and shafts.
Yeah.
We haven't tried them all, but maybe another fitter has. So, we can always kind of work with that. But let's end this episode talking about our own bag setups. So, Jack, tell me kind of what you're rocking in the bag right now.
Yeah, for my bag, top end of the bag is TSR3. Set it super flat because I like to block my misses. I don't want to see a snap hook. It's right side start line bias, but you know me, I like to hit draws and cuts. Playing it with a Ventus TR Black. Actually just recently did a refitting with driver because from March-ish until now, I picked up a good amount of club head speed. So trying to do a little bit of retooling. I'll probably just show some photos later on about what ends up as a new driver shaft, but that head is going to stay in the bag for a while. Same setup on the 3-wood. I've also got a TSR3 hybrid LA Golf 85X, and then irons are all, it's a combo set of ZX5, basically from 4 iron down through 4 through 7. And then 8-9 pitching wedge gap is ZX7. All of those are shafted with LA Golf 105X, and then Vokey wedges for lob wedge and sand wedge. Shout out to Vokey for making the 54M bounce or 54M grind, which is an 8-degree bounce. It's like I'm trying to buy more, even though it's fucking expensive as shit, because like it's the perfect sand wedge. Like I don't know what it is about it. I know it's just the right amount of bounce, the right type of grind for me. Perfect sand wedge. And I have the 58T grind in raw as well. So that's been fun. And then the putter is pretty much I got fit also around March for the putter. Fit into mallet with either face balance or a 30-degree toe hang. I got a Scotty triple black 9.5 from a couple of years ago, and I've got LA Golf Soho in that thing, and that's been fun rocking with that one. I can't wait. I know you haven't seen that one in person. I can't wait for you to see that thing because I think you really like it. What about you, man?
I mean, that's a solid setup, man. So I am playing. I'm playing a Stealth 2 regular, not plus, driver head with a 40 gram extra stiff Ventus Blue. So it basically, I wanted to lighten it up as much as possible, but I wanted to keep the tip stiff to kind of kill some of my spin. So I went that route and kind of, we don't have those shafts in our matrix or in our stores, so I kind of took a little bit of a risk. Us getting fit, that's what we preach, but from testing out 50 gram X's and things like that, I kind of knew I'd get a little bit more speed but maintaining the lower torque ratio with the tipper or a stiffer tip. So it's been working great for me. I'm hitting 85% of fairways, so it's a really good setup for me. 3-wood is also a Stealth 2 non-plus. I've got the Hazardous Hulk shaft in there, now discontinued. You can't even get one of those guys. It's just a low spin monster. I mean, that thing, I can hit the shit out of that 3-wood. It's probably one of my favorite clubs. Not the favorite, but one of my favorites. And I have an Apex UW 17 degree that follows that guy with a Rome Velix shaft in it. Most people won't even know who Velix is. If you search them, it's just a bunch of hot girls holding golf shafts on their website. You won't even find information of what their shafts do. It's the dumbest
I don't know if I'm allowed
website.
to say this, but I feel like they're about to go out of business. I mean, they make some great shafts, but you just don't see a lot from them as far as like new stuff. It's kind of weird,
No, and
right?
I don't know if they're owned by a larger company. Yeah, the Rome Alpina line and the Mansion line have all been out for a long, long time. I don't know if they're owned by a larger brand or if maybe they're just doing decent enough to get along. But I've been loving their product. I've also fit Ashton into a Velix Rome shaft into his 3-wood. And Kenny into one in his driver. So, if you're trying to get low spin, a lower trajectory, it's a really good shaft in that category, kind of along the lines of, your Ventus Black TRs and things like that. So it's been a solid setup for me. And then, so I play like an LPGA bag. So then it follows that with a 19-degree hybrid and a 23-degree hybrid. Both of them Callaway Paradigm. I've got Ventus Blue 90-gram stiff shafts in those, and they're money. I mean, get great launch, great accuracy with them. I'm super happy. And then I play 6-iron through attack wedge, ZX5s, with Acra TZ 105 shafts in those. So previously, I have played LA Golf in multiple sets prior to this, and I still love LA Golf shafts and irons. It was just for this particular head, I got better numbers with the Acras, and it was pretty close between the Acras and LA Golfs. It was just slightly tighter dispersion with the Acras, and I got just a tiny bit more distance out of them. I mean, we're talking pretty minuscule, but everything counts when it comes to trying to score lower. So by gaining 3-4 extra yards and tightening my dispersion by 15 feet left to right with these, it was pretty much a no-brainer for me to be able to go that route. And not saying that LA Golf, I won't play them again if I do, decide to go a different route with a different set further down the road. But for that particular head, the Acras worked super well.
You like to tinker, so I would expect that to change next year at some point.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I'm selling off all my other stuff that I have, because I'm trying to not do it. But again, we have the options at our fingertips all the time. And when there is some downtime, it is very hard not to test things out, especially when we're getting new stuff in every other day.
Yeah.
So you're always kind of searching, but being in the industry too, if someone offers me something free from one of my reps, I'm not going to say no to testing it out. So, that's the one thing there too is, being in the industry, we get some great hookups, which might sway your decision a little bit, which goes against being fit. So don't do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I let the data speak for itself. Like, I've been trying other iron shafts just to see if I'm just buying into the perceived hype on LA Golf, but I mean, there's nothing that really, as far something that marries numbers and feels for it. I guess I'm just an LA Golf guy, but yeah, definitely data is super important with getting fit, and yeah, always. Go find your fitter. Doesn't have to be us, but go get fit so you can play better golf. Real quick, before we jump off the pod.
Oh, I didn't talk wedges and putter.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm same as you, Volky wedges. Those I actually do play LA Golf shafts in. So it controls my height going in the 105 low flight stiff shafts. It lowers my flight just a little bit, maintains the same weight through my irons and wedges. That's what I prefer. Some people prefer heavier in their wedges. Mm-hmm. But I've really loved kind of the feel of those guys. And then putter right now, I'm actually playing a Ping Oslo H, which is a mallet putter with an L neck. So for me, I need to be about 30 to 45 degrees of toe hang. And so what I like weight wise, look wise, things like that is a mallet with an L neck, because it gives me the right toe hang. And so, to be honest, I'm a fairly good putter. Most people know that's probably my strength when it comes to my game. So you could give me majority of L neck mallets and I'm gonna get along with them. My Ping rep was generous enough to give me this guy, because I've been waiting for Scotty to finally fucking pull the trigger and give me a goddamn mallet with an L neck on it. They just did that limited release, so I'm crossing my fingers that Scotty finally mass produces one and puts it out there, since the new Phantom line is coming next year. So I'm hoping and praying that they add one of those guys into the repertoire, because I would buy one in a heartbeat. But I wasn't willing to pay the $750 for the limited one that they just released. They can go fuck themselves for that price. And I'm not going to pay $3,000 to have one custom made for me either. So for
go
now,
fuck yourself, Scotty.
Yep, I'm not paying your prices, bro. Mass produce one, and I'll get one of those. But right now, rocking the Ping, really liking it. So that's my full. Oh, and then shaft I have in the Ping is the KBS GPS shaft in it. So it's a newer graphite shaft, and I've been really liking it. You know, I had that putter set up in the bag when I shot my 69, so can't be too mad at it.
What was the best club that you put in the bag this year?
Apex UW.
UW.
Same as my favorite club. Oh
Yeah.
I mean, it's deadly from 210 out. Like, I can hit that thing on a dime. It doesn't roll out a whole lot, which is what I want for that club. You know, I get 5-6 yards to 10 on the fairways, but like, I want it to be a 210 club that I can slam into par fives and get it to stop.
Yeah, nice. That's pretty good. For me, not to sound like this is not an LA Golf sponsored pod, but the P Series Soho in my Phantom, it's like kind of like you. Like, I've never really needed help much on putting. Like, I've always been pretty confident with my putting, but it's just being able to like feel the head a lot more, and like just like on the stroke, just be very stable. I don't know how to explain it. It just feels alien and stable, and it just works. Like, that would be my tagline for them. Like, just something about what they're doing with the putter shafts just really works. So,
and you know, I think even if you don't have that $400 budget in your repertoire, because we both know LA Golf is very, very expensive, especially in putter shafts.
Yeah.
If you want something, you know, that's going to create something very similar, like, go and check out BGT Stability. Go and check out KBS GPS's, MMTs from Mitsubishi. Fujikura's got their line as well. There are so much benefit to a graphite, you know, zero torque shaft. And all the brands have now followed suit, because LA Golf was definitely one of the first ones to make things like this. And now you're seeing all the other brands kind of follow suit to it. And I think, you know, you're going to definitely benefit from it, you know, going into a graphite shaft, especially one that claims a low torque ratio or zero torque like the LA Golf or BGT do. So, yeah, I would recommend everybody to switch out of those floppy ass fucking steel shafts that they put in putters, because they're dog shit.
Yeah. Well, get fit too, because some of the shafts do different things for different people. Like, BGT typically is to help launch the ball up when you're putting. So it's not just like it's zero torque. Like, for me, I was looking for the most stable putter shaft, and that's what LA Golf is doing for me. but every single one of the putter shafts will do something kind of a little bit different for each other, at least claim to. So that's part of what fitting does for you, is understanding what technology actually works and what technology actually helps you.
Yep. I mean, that's 100%. And what works for us does not work for the next person. And that was one thing me and you were talking about. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is when I'm on the golf course, you know, us being fitters, we have very expensive, nice equipment in our bags. That's one blessing of being a fitter is we get great deals to be able to do that. But, you know, I hate it when people want to hit my driver because, one, it's not that I don't want them to hit it. It's just it's fit for me, not fit for you. So it might not work for you, and you hitting it isn't going to help with that decision. So get fit, get in the right equipment. You know, anybody that's in our crew that me or Jack have fit, I'll tell you right now, none of us are in the same setups. None of us play the same clubs. You know, we're all very unique within our setups, and that's how it should be. You shouldn't be joining the crowd trying to just get whatever's hot at that moment. Yeah, exactly.
All right, man, this has been fun. Hopefully we get to do something similar next year and just kind of talk about equipment. I'm stoked to, you know, keep growing in club champion and just kind of seeing where the journey takes me.
Yeah, man, keep fitting, keep getting those mysteries solved for these customers. Because I mean, I don't know about you. I'm not gonna, you know, put words in your mouth, but I love my job. It's the best job I have ever had. Not talking anything besides just working with my customers and being able to learn about all of this equipment. I mean, I am happy every day I go to work, and I'm happy every day I leave. So, you know, the passion is there. I know for myself, and I feel it, you know, how you talk about it, that it's definitely there, and it's one of the best jobs I think I've ever had. I'm not going to say it's the best paying job I've ever had, but I'm happy.
Shout out Uncle Nick. All right, man.
Waiting for that January raise. All right, buddy.
All right, man. We'll talk soon, and catch us on the flip side, guys.
All right. Peace. Later, guys.